Making sure that induction, that orientation is done professionally, I think is a big part of that first time visit.
When someone comes in for their first time, when they leave, they could have either gone in one direction and changed their life, or another direction where they just think this isn't really for me.
For me, the whole group class boutique was very new. When we did our trials, I always walked in open and somewhat excited, also slightly apprehensive. I would imagine that's how a lot of people feel when they walk in.
My name is Jack Thomas, one of the co-founders of The Fit Guide, which is the global standard of fitness excellence. Welcome to the 5-Star Fitness Podcast, which is all about bringing the very best from hospitality into the fitness industry so we can build better businesses, more profitable businesses, and impact more people's lives and their health. Today we are joined by Matt Lavender, co-founder of The Fit Guide. Welcome, Matt. And this is an interesting topic for me, one that I'm excited to talk about because I think we need to be doing a better job of this in the fitness industry, and it's just so pivotal to having that impact that we want to have on people's lives, and that is nailing the first time visit. So the first time someone comes into your club, someone comes into your studio. So I think a good place to start, Matt, is why is this first time visit so important?
Yeah, thanks, Jack. I think in a previous episode we talked quite a lot about first and final impressions and how important they are. And because this really is a first time impression for somebody coming in for their class for the first time, it's just so important that we get it right. If we get it wrong, it just sets the tone for the rest of their journey, for the rest of their visit that day, and also whether they'll come back as well. I think that it's especially important in fitness, because we actually have the power to change lives. People have made a decision to go on that fitness journey for whatever reason, and so we can make or break that, the possibility of them getting fit, them leading a more healthy life. And so I think really making people feel welcome, at home, appreciated, cared for, comfortable is just super important, especially in fitness. And it's certainly important in hotels, fine dining, because once you've made that first impression, it can sometimes be hard to recover from if it was not as positive as it could be. But yeah, I think in fitness especially is super important.
I really like this framing. I mean, a hotel stay is also important. There might be a break that they really need and everything else. But really in the fitness industry, this could have a huge impact on people's lives, either positively or, if we really put them off, negatively. And I think this is what we talk about at our gym. When someone comes in for their first time, when they leave, they are in either 3 different states or feelings towards the establishment, the club. One is, that was awesome, can definitely see myself going back there. Right, and then there's obviously things that we can do to help them get them back through the door. Secondly is not really the right fit for me, but yeah, maybe I'll try a different gym, maybe I'll try Pilates, maybe I'll try yoga instead, but that's not quite the right fit for me. The third one is that was terrible, this whole fitness thing is just really not for me, I don't belong in a place like this, I'm not going back. And if you feel the third one, or if our members, clients feel that third one, you should be ashamed of yourself, really, because we might have put them off really taking a further step into this journey, and they could have either gone in one direction and changed their life, or another direction where they just think this isn't really for me. And I want us to really feel this obligation in the fitness industry. I think if you feel that, you're going to automatically do a good job, if you really kind of feel that in your bones. And I want managers, coaches, instructors to really feel that. And I think most of us do, but I think we can forget sometimes. And there's been moments early on in my fitness career where maybe I forgot when I got really busy. But once I had that mindset switch, I think that was huge. What is that first timer thinking when they walk through the door? Because I think we forget that sometimes in the fitness industry, and you're not from the fitness industry. I mean, how do you feel when you go to a club for the first time?
Yeah, I can certainly talk from experience. When we started doing our evaluations back in 2022, 23, yes. 22, I was quite a newcomer to fitness, not to fitness, because I've done exercise. I've always liked to exercise outside, but I've always done it on my own, really. I'd never been a member of a gym. I'd used hotel gyms, very different. And so for me, the whole group class, boutique, gym concept was very new. And so when we did our trials, some of them I felt really welcome, and some of them not so much. But as I was walking into them, especially the first few I did, I was quite nervous, quite apprehensive. I didn't really know what to expect. I felt I was probably a bit older than the average person going to group class. I was worried about, am I going to be accepted? Am I going to be judged? Am I going to embarrass myself because I can't pull this yoga pose or go at the same speed as somebody else? And so, I always walked in open and somewhat excited, but also slightly apprehensive. And I think, I don't know, this is just my personal anecdotal situation, but I would imagine that's how a lot of people feel when they walk in.
I mean, I get to experience that as well, because even though I'm from the fitness industry, if you put me in a strength and conditioning facility like my gym, I feel right at home, right? And I feel very, very comfortable and get chatting to people and everything else. But if I go and do a yoga class, I feel all of those same things, because my mobility is not great. I'm not very good at yoga. No, I should probably be doing it a bit more often. So I still get to experience that even as someone from the fitness industry. And again, it's fascinating going to yoga studios or perhaps Pilates studios and seeing how they make someone like me feel welcome. I kind of get to experience that mindset from someone outside of the fitness industry. So what makes a great first visit then? How can we make sure that it's one of those better ones that you've been to?
Well, I think a big part of it is really making sure that the client feels comfortable in their environment, so they know where everything is, and I think this really leads on to the sort of orientation. I mean, we can talk about, we have done already, the sort of first impressions, making sure you welcome them, acknowledge them quickly. But I think all of that should really be a given. I think that, again, going back to how I felt, I'm bringing back memories now. A lot of the time I was thinking, what if I don't know where to go, or I end up walking into the wrong room, or I can't work the water fountain, or something stupid like that. And this is where I think a really strong induction or orientation for first timers really comes into it. Now, I can speak a little bit how that works in hotels, for example, because we do a lot of training on this, because especially in a larger hotel, you could have a lot of facilities, a lot of different outlets, different restaurants, spa, etc. And so when we train with hotels, we do a lot of work on that orientation. And I guess in some of the more boutique fitness clubs, they maybe don't have as extensive facilities, but certainly some of the sort of full service or big boxes, I know they're called in the industry, they could have a lot of facilities, right? And so making sure that induction, that orientation is done professionally, I think is a big part of that first time visit.
Absolutely. I mean, if it's a huge facility, right? Gym Nation's recently launched one in Saudi Arabia, which is 77,000 square feet. Wow. You need to let people know where things are, right? If you go to a location that big, any kind of country club, Lifetime, Equinox, really any big box, you kind of need to know your way around. Otherwise, you might get completely lost. But even in a boutique, I think it's important to say, toilets are down here, showers are down there. This is where you wait, and we have a standard around that. Lisi Kika from Studio Grow talks a lot about there should never be a moment during really any member's journey, but especially that first time journey when you don't know what to do next.
Yes.
A really good example of one of our standards is that the yoga mat or the Pilates reformer bed or the station is given to you beforehand, or they let you know if it's a free choice. So again, that applies to really any club or any studio. Because again, what you don't want is you go in, you pick a yoga mat, someone else comes in and goes, oh, that's my yoga mat. Then you stand up, you're like, where do I go? Are these all taken? Which one's mine? You just don't want that to happen. And that's one that I think's fairly frequent that it's not scored. You just want people to know what's coming up next. They feel comfortable, they feel assured, someone's taking them through that journey. And I think that's probably a great way to summarize what makes a great first visit, right?
Yeah, for sure. It reminds me actually of standards that we use in spa evaluations, because it's a very similarly worded standard. It says the guest should never have to wonder where they're going next, or when or where to go when the treatment begins. Because often with spas, for example, maybe your treatment's at 1 p.m, but you'll be encouraged to arrive at 12:15 or 12:30, so you can use the sauna and the steam room and the facilities beforehand. And then the idea is that when it's almost time for your treatment, your therapist should come and find you. But sometimes they don't tell you that, so you just, where do I go when it's time for my treatment? And usually they should tell you, well, look, we have a waiting area a few minutes before, go there. So yeah, knowing at all times what the next stage of the journey is really important. Just talking about an orientation, sort of like the kind of things I would encourage people to do is, first of all, especially if it's a larger, like gymnasium facility with lots of different things going on, I would say ask questions to find out a little bit about the profile of that client. And in hotels, we find out, are they a honeymoon couple? Are they a business traveler? And then you start to think about, well, what are the most important things for this particular person to know that's going to make their stay more comfortable or their visit? And then focus on those things. And really, we should not omit anything that is unique, different, hard to find, confusing. That could be if the towels are sort of hidden a bit around a corner on a shelf. What you want the orientation to be helpful and unrushed, to the point that no one has to come back to reception desk and say, where's this or where's that? And then if you've done your job properly, they shouldn't have to do that.
What I find interesting, looking at it from a fitness industry perspective as well, is the opportunity to score other standards within this, right? So whilst you're showing them around, you can be like, oh, do you live in the city? What kind of training do you do normally? Which scores some of our other standards. I mean, we've mentioned Orange Theory before on the podcast, but they do such a good job, probably the best in the industry, of introducing you to the next person within that journey. So the front desk staff introduce you to someone who helps just in front of the class, kind of like that transition phase, who then, of course, introduces you to the coach, who then at the end introduces you back to the front desk staff, and by name as well. And again, it reminds me of hospitality. If you ask where the bar is, for example, they won't just say, oh, it's down there on the left. They'll walk you there and perhaps even introduce you. Oh, Matt's bartending today, he's going to look after you, right? And then Matt smiles and waves and like, oh, wow, I'm really being looked after here through every step of the journey. And so I think it's interesting to hear and look at what hospitality does and see how we can just take little things. Maybe we don't go quite that far in a gym, perhaps, but we can still take a lot of inspiration from it.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that idea of that transition being seamless. And there are occasions where you do have to deal with a lot of different staff members, and arrival is the obvious one. I have a little tip that I train hotel staff, and I say, to avoid each person asking the same question or repeating information, when you do those transitions, those passovers, you can actually say to the person, so this is, let me introduce you to Mr. Lavender. We were just talking about the fact that he's had a long journey today, come all the way from England. So because the problem is, imagine every single staff member says, how was your journey? It's like, really tired, like my flight was late. How's your journey? My flight. So you can almost preempt that and let them know, look, I've already discussed this, you discuss something else during that transition. If it's done in a smooth and seamless way, again, it gives that air of professionalism.
Yeah, I think on a very basic level, just a quick tip anyone can take listening to this is just make sure that front desk person, if it's your first time, introduces you to the instructor or coach. That's really something that should be done every single time, I think. What are some of the things that gyms can do before the client goes, just to prepare them for a great first time visit?
Before they even arrive at the...
Just like briefly, some of the things they can do just to make sure that they're in the right frame of mind. You mentioned getting there at the right time, for example.
Oh, okay, I see. So for you're talking about the actual staff member themselves, what they can do.
Anything that the club can do before the person arrives.
Oh, okay, I see. Well, I mean, I think the first thing is just make sure that in all communication with that new client, that they're really clear on the onboarding process, like how many minutes before their class they should arrive, what facilities you have, if there's anything that they need to bring with them. For example, I've been to spas where they forget to tell you that there's a shared swimming pool, and then so you get there and think, oh, I should have brought my swimming gear, so I could have had a swim. So just make sure in your communication that everything is incredibly clear, so they've got all the information that they need, and then from the staff members' perspective, just be prepared. Make sure you know when you've got first timers coming. Maybe have a list, I would imagine, of who's going to be coming today, who's a first timer, and just be ready for them and make sure that you're prepared to give them that incredible first time experience.
A friend of mine visited a recovery studio in California when he was on holiday, and he booked a session just online, paid for one class, one session, and the instructor actually messaged him before, I think like a WhatsApp message, like, oh, my name's Trevor, really looking forward to meeting you. And then it said some of the things as well, if you could arrive a little bit early so I can kind of show you around. And it's interesting, he loved it, he thought it was great. He's from the fitness industry as well. And he very much recognized that it was probably automated. Trevor probably didn't just whip out his phone and message him. It was obviously part of their process. Maybe he didn't even send it at all. It could have been completely automated, or just somebody on the front desk that wasn't Trevor. He didn't care. He thought it was great. And then when he went and met Trevor, already kind of felt like he knew him a little bit. And that was really kind of going above and beyond, like more than really I think we've seen probably through our 400 visits. So any little thing you can do like that to really make people feel more welcome, know exactly what they need to do, and just feel more comfortable walking through the door, I think is huge. What's the benefit of getting all this right?
Well, I think we touched on it right at the start. I mean, from a business perspective, I think it should be clear that you have the potential there to potentially sign somebody up for life if they have a good first impression. They feel really welcome. I think from the perspective of that person, as we said right from the start, you could be changing someone's life. You could be encouraging somebody to start on a fitness journey that they wouldn't have done otherwise. And on the flip side, if it doesn't go well and they didn't feel welcome, that's obviously a real shame that person didn't get to experience that. So I think keeping that in mind is probably really important, and just understanding the responsibility.
Yeah, it always comes back to that responsibility, that obligation that we've got to really help people and get them started on their fitness journey. And again, if they fall into the first two categories, either, wow, this is incredible, I can't wait to come back, or that was great, not for me, I'm going to find another studio that's right for me, you can be proud of yourself. If it's like, wow, never coming back somewhere like this, you should be ashamed of yourself. So make sure that every single person falls into those two categories. And by doing some of the things we talked about today, I think that's very, very possible to do every time. Thank you for listening. If you think we need to infuse more hospitality principles into the fitness industry, do subscribe to this podcast. It's all about elevating fitness through hospitality. We'll be releasing regular episodes with me and Matt, also from fitness leaders who built great brands that believe in hospitality. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time.